Honorable Minister, colleagues, friends, and all of those who believe that we need to save, protect, and nurture our environment. We often talk how much percentage of the Indian economy has grown, but we miss out one critical aspect, the environmental cost to the country. According to a study by the World Bank, the environmental degradation costs India about $80 billion annually, which is nearly 6% of our GDP. This is a humongous figure. This environmental damage is responsible for severe health issues, poor water supply, acute natural disasters, amongst many other dangers. We have now reached a stage where we just can't afford to remain passive about the environment. We have to take action now and achieve growth, showing responsibility towards our planet. This is the reason why India Today Television and Tata Steel have partnered and come together to organize this environmental conclave. I'd like to welcome all of you once again and look forward to a very stimulating conclave to discuss the burning issue of the environment, with the temperature outside also reaching burning proportions.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I now take this opportunity to invite on stage Mr. Prakash Javadekar, Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change. प्रधानमंत्री मेक इन इंडिया की बात करते हैं, सस्टेनेबल कैसे हो वो मेक इन इंडिया, ये सपना. हम स्मार्ट सिटीज की बात करते हैं, कैसे भारत में बनेंगी ये स्मार्ट सिटीज, क्या है आपका ये सपना पर्यावरण की सुरक्षा करते हुए.
I am happy to be here at this conclave today. We need to reiterate what is our ethos. After urbanization, we start consuming more and more. Even the rural consumption pattern is getting changed. All marketing companies are now eyeing tier 2, tier 3 and even lesser towns, because that is where the consumption is growing, demand is growing. But our way of life, originally, Indian way of life at least, it's all nature friendly. बच्चों के कपड़े बच्चे बड़े होते ही कोई डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं करता हमारे यहाँ. वो रखते हैं घर में, दूसरा कोई बच्चा पैदा होता है तो उसको भी यूज़ करते हैं, फिर तीसरे पड़ोस में होता है उसको भी देते हैं, फिर बाद में उसका जब 3, 4, 5 यूज़ हो गया और ख़त्म हो गया उसका लाइफ, तो फिर उसको दूसरे काम के लिए भी यूज़ करते हैं, फेंकते नहीं. द beauty or worst part of Indian system is we have laws and rules in place which are never implemented. That is the challenge. We'll have to go back to basic. Gandhiji used to say aparigraha. Consume what is required. Don't consume what is not required. Is the sense of sustainable living. Waste is not waste. Waste is wealth, if we manage it properly. But when we don't manage it, that's the issue. So solid waste, sewerage. In India, it's a pathetic situation after 70 years of independence, nearly 70 years of independence. Where we have reached today is, we have built up only 30% capacity of sewerage treatment. Even the sewerage treatment, we have found new technologies where methane generated out of the sewerage sludge can be used to generate power. I think you must come out with innovative ideas, innovative solutions, which we will welcome and take it to the people with the right earnest. And I wish with this all the best to this conclave. Thank you and all the best.
On the topic of sustainability, way back, more than a decade back, in 2001, Tata Steel was one of the first Indian company to prepare and disclose sustainability report as per GRI 2000-1. And continuously after that, there have been disclosures in the annual report as per the multiple directive, and we have also opened ourselves to peer scrutiny through participation in awards like CII ITC Sustainability Award, IIM Sustainability Award, ASSOCHAM CSR Award, ICI Sustainability Award, and so on and so forth. We have been awarded many times, but we do recognize the awards in themselves are not the achievement. the journey towards those winning those awards is the experience, is the learning that any corporate builds on itself. We cover all aspects like resource management, waste management, environmental impact management, community development, and more as per the corporate sustainability report. Our aim is to stay ahead of prescriptive legal requirements with innovative interventions and offer ourselves to scrutiny by internal and external stakeholders.
The World Environment Day, which we are celebrating, marking, goes back to 1972, when the first Environment Congress was held by the United Nations. And it was there that India had made the point that environment and development go together. The World Environment Day theme this year is 7 billion dreams, 1 planet consumed with care. Today consumes something like a planet and a half. And the way things are going, by 2050 we'll need about 2.5 planets to survive the lifestyles. This is obviously not there. And therefore a new paradigm is required. But when you talk about 7 billion dreams, ultimately the dream is common. Everyone wants a good lifestyle. Everyone wants to live with dignity. Everyone wants to live in peace. There might be 7 billion people around, but it is not possible that so much of the world lives in poverty while a few people live in wealth. And therefore that paradigm of development has to be different. Minister has often stressed the lifestyle issue. What is it that we are going towards? At the center of these problems, whether you see climate change or biodiversity loss or anything else, it is finally the way we live and what we expect and the way we dream. So it's very heartening today that we are coming together as media, as industry, as government, and as NGO. And I think it's the combination of these forces which will lead to that final solution.
We have a lot of master plans, as you know, but I'm not talking about that. We're talking about a plan which has a clear vision, guided by a strong roadmap, a strategy, or whatever you call. Unless we end up making the same mistake we have been making for several years now. We have to change things now. The planning is very important. In the planning, I would say there are 3 subcomponents, I would say. One, it may be very difficult and challenging, but I think we have to think long term. We have to break the election cycle, political benefits, or even administrative convenience of doing things in a short term to kind of long term. That's the first thing. Second one, I think the more importantly, the Global Green Growth Institute, the way they work is we have to do a planning in an integrated way. It has to be integrated planning. A strategy which cut across all the departments, a team which work together to one vision, one strategy, so integrated planning. That's the second subcomponent of the planning. Third one, I think the city planners all would agree how critical to get the data information right to make a planning right. Because the most acute shortage today is not about sometimes money, certainly, but I think reliable, accurate data is more important than anything else. I think cities need it very important. The planners need it important. And the final one on the planning part is planning lead to implementation. It is not just a document, as you say, it should be implementable. And I think on behalf of the Global Green Growth Institute, I would like to say we'll be stand ready to support and work with the institution in making this endeavor a success. Thank you very much for the opportunities.
Surat is a very descriptive and a very illustrative case where they have just shifted an 8-hour notice for the Ukai Dam's release of water to a 72-hour notice by just using data modeling and the help of IITs and a very good adaptation system. So if you have 72 hours with you, even the water that is going to be released can be released in 3 installments and it can be managed. So it's an end-to-end early warning system. So in Gorakhpur, unfortunately, we find that the various Japanese encephalitis cases have now become acute encephalitis cases because of very, very high water pollution. It's also because of the shrinking water bodies. It's the Tarai land, which is extremely vulnerable to these kind of issues. But then things like urban farming and urban agriculture could be ways to save this kind of issues. Planning and design is extremely important, system coordination, and of course the use of IT. That is what the smart city is all about. we could also use absolutely new technologies and some sustainable old technologies. You know, we just have to combine the two.
Good afternoon, everybody. How do we help the city governments achieve sustainability? We have actually even implemented in one of the city in Coimbatore recently a Sunya, that is like a zero waste concept. How do we reduce, how do we recycle, how do we reuse the waste? So on those principles, a lot of wards have shown actually on ground how we can implement that. Most of the cities can improving easily around 20 to 25% of their energy can become through the renewable energy sources on that.
Jamshedpur, almost 48 kilometers road are essentially constructed using the plastic waste. On behalf of Tata Steel, we provide the water in the city of Jamshedpur, and probably the only city in India where you actually drink water from the tap. There is no aquaguards, there are no RO systems in any house in Jamshedpur, and we are quite proud of it. We have a target, and that is how Tata Steel looks at environment, that despite of the fact that we have the greenest industrial city in India as of today, we have a target to take this 27% kind of a green cover to 33%. This is essentially the culmination of a vision taken 100 years back, the belief of Tata Group, and participation of every citizen in Jamshedpur. Say, this is our city, and we would want to make it cleaner, greener, safer. In other words, more sustainable. And for all practical purposes, I can only say that if we really want to make a change, we need to be part of that change. And that's to say, खुदा ने आज तक उस कौम की हालत नहीं बदली, खुदा ने आज तक उस कौम की हालत नहीं बदली, ना हो जिसे ख्याल खुद अपनी हालत के बदलने का. Thank you so much.
When we talk about sustainable consumption, how is it that all of us can perhaps continue to consume, at the same time ensure that it does not harm to environment is kept as low as possible?
Indian eco-labeling scheme, which was launched I think 20 or 22 years ago, has been a complete disaster. It's more or less moribund, but that would have provided some guidelines over and above just energy, because there's a lot more to environmental sustainability than energy. Washing machines are frequently called eco-friendly, but they're called eco-friendly for the simple reason that the manufacturers justify it by saying we use less electricity. However, they use more water, they use more detergent, and it's not possible. So right now, it's a struggle for a consumer, the average consumer, to really figure out whether a product is more sustainable than, environmentally sustainable than the other.
Dr. Gopichandran, what does the industry need to do in such a situation?
Low-hanging fruits for the industry is to look at innovative ways of not only complying but derive a lot of economic benefit out of improving their environmental performance. A typical case in point is of the carbon credits. Please mark, the mechanism of carbon credits by itself is probably one of the most scientific ones, because it has to deal with 5 very important parameters. One is called the fungibility, which means a reduction should be transformed into economic benefit through very clear quantification. Accountability, transparency, consistency, and measurements. These are the 5 parameters which drive carbon credit mechanisms. Therefore, what I wish to say is the mechanism by itself is not flawed, but the manner in which it is being implemented or being debated is a huge problem. So an industry can look at a very important market and technology-driven advantage if it wants to sustain its production.
Is it time for government regulations to come in? Should the government have very strict laws on this?
I believe that that companies are responsible for the full life cycle of the products they produce. So extraction, production, and disposal of products comes under the responsibility of the companies that produce them. But we've got to recognize that this is part of a systemic challenge. So meeting those responsibilities requires a lot of collaboration at industry level, working with government, with municipal authorities, and tighter regulations are coming, we're seeing those. We also need better enforcement of regulation, but we also need much better systems, because without that, it's just paper.
Everything, I think every bit begins with self, because we have to change our behavior, we have to change our mindset to look at things that, okay, this is something, so if I'm buying as a bottle of water, just as Mr. Gandhi said that, so water is the main thing, I have to look at, and then I simply have to throw the bottles here and there and litter around. I think so that begins with us, ourselves, and self-responsibility, or say individual social responsibility, is much bigger subject than corporate social responsibility we are talking today. You see, if we have to look at some statistics, we find that so consumptions are on increase. So everything you do, your conduct, has a multiplier effect on environment, on the social side. So that's why I think so I would definitely like to sensitize individuals, rather actually individuals giving responsibility or cribbing that, okay, it is the government's responsibility or corporate's responsibility. I think let us begin with self and then start contributing to this thing, that then only we can reach or achieve the sustainable production and sustainable development in future.
So it's one planet, and not just 1 billion Indians, but perhaps 7 billion dreams that need to come together for a safer planet. Many thanks to all my guests.
There are three pillars of sustainable development. One is economics, one is sociology, and one is ecology. तो आप लोगों ने सुना होगा, पहले कहते थे जान है तो जहान है, कहते थे ना, अभी भी कहते हैं जान है तो जहान है, लेकिन अब बदल गया, जहान है तो जान है. So with these words, I'll go back to the panelists again so that they can, give their thoughts.
Good afternoon, distinguished panelists, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'd just like to give you a brief overview about the history, how it happened that business and biodiversity became a topic. This discussion only started 2006, and it was at a breakfast. It was in Curitiba at COP7. Might be that Mr. Hempande has been there this time, and few ministers met and were discussing how to involve the businesses more. It was said at COP that the businesses is the least engaged stakeholder in all. And that happened, and our minister, the German Minister for Environment, took it very serious. We Germans are very serious, and he was host of the next COP in Germany, 2008 in Bonn. And he commissioned us, GIZ, and that's my personal relationship to this topic. He commissioned us to start a business and biodiversity initiative. He wanted to show in a positive way that businesses is ready to take responsibility on the issue of biodiversity. And same happened now, and I'm very proud to be here and to tell you, in May 2014, the India Businesses and Biodiversity Initiative was established. And therefore I'm really delighted that the Indian industry has embarked on this difficult journey to mainstream sustainable management for biodiversity in businesses. And I would really appreciate if, even request if other companies would come on board as well and to join this initiative. And therefore I would like now to conclude with this year's UNEP slogan. It was mentioned again, but it's nice to hear it again and again. 7 billion dreams, one planet, consume with care. That's our task. Thank you very much.
We try to create situations where the adage goes that you conserve only what you love, and you love only what you understand, and you understand only what you get to know. So looking at that in terms of tourism industry has a role to play in terms of educating. And just to throw open now a few of my musings, few of my thoughts of having been involved in this industry. 5 tiger reserves in Madhya Pradesh generate tourism receipts which are about 15% of what various governments give to that department. In a place like Bandhavgarh, what gets generated by tourism can almost match what comes from central and state support. So that talks about the potential. But is right now a private player really poised to make a meaningful contribution in conserving biodiversity? In the recently drafted guidelines, only 20% of the national parks are allowed for tourism. So the impact is in a way limited to one area, which I think is a good goal to have, that you do not open all the areas for impact. Tiger is a very resilient species. If you leave it on its own, if you give it its territory, maybe they'll start doubling every 8 to 10 years. They're prolific breeders. Can private players adopt a patch of forest now? Can they adopt a translocation? Can they adopt a tiger, so to speak? So that's where I would say that, all the experts have to come together and see if there could be one vision and if there could be spelt out places, spelt out policies, spelt out programs through which private parties could contribute in conserving the biodiversity.
We are running a program in the entire South Asia, which is the ESD multiple perspective approaches to biodiversity, and we have been training teachers and also community workers. In Bhutan, like, we are aligning this with the gross national happiness, how this could be linked together. In Sri Lanka, we are doing a program of post-conflict peace building. CE is a partner. In Maldives, we are doing on the climate change. In India, we have several, like in Northeast, particularly in the cultural landscape area of Arunachal Pradesh, we are trying to link all those keystone species which are culturally useful. They are also socially useful and ecologically important species.
There are two famous gentlemen, Julian Simon and Paul Ehrlich. They had a betting somewhere in 1980s that the commodity prices will go up or go down. Today also, the thought also comes that resources are finite, population is growing, so there will be more and more people, there will be less and less resources, the prices will go up. Sarvodaya through Antyodaya. If the last person is taken care of, the society will be taken care of. That the earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greeds. So what we feel, that we ourselves feel that we are doing just a drop in the ocean, but the ocean would be less because of that missing drop. Thank you.